Okay, let's switch gears now. 3 years since taking on the new role of Grand Rapids Police Chief, Chief Eric Winstrom now sharing the progress his department has made in those 3 years. He gave an address to city leaders yesterday. The chief saying violence in the city continues to decrease. He says the focus over the next 3 years here will be cracking down harder on gun violence, especially with young people. A big mark in Winstrom's time at GRPD was right near the beginning of it at the Patrick Lyoya shooting 3 years ago. We caught up with Chief Winstrom after yesterday's meeting. He spoke on how the department has shifted response methods since he started and also touched on President Trump's new executive order focusing on homelessness. Take a listen.
I think it is important to share what's happened for the past 3+ years because since the trial of former officer Christopher Schur and then some high-profile things in the media that have popped up, sometimes people's memories, they're just nothing's changed at GRPD. And me having lived this now for almost 3.5 years, I'm like, everything's changed at GRPD. So actually putting it down on paper and explaining it to the commission, letting them hear it, letting them answer the questions, I think that's helpful.
And I know that you went through basically a laundry list of lots of things that have changed. Can you bullet point, let's say, 3 to 5 things? It's just not as pretty to see the back of your head.
Oh boy, yeah, policies, procedures, training, some of the big stuff. I mean, our co-response team is just a model for, in my opinion, model for the nation now. They're out there all the time doing amazing work. It's something that 25 years ago no one ever would have thought of, putting a social worker and a police officer in a car together. The staffing is the biggest challenge that I've had since I've been here. We're at a low of 261 when I started in a department that used to have 400 officers. Just getting to those 911 calls was just about, that was all we could do. So really, given the great police service that the people of Grand Rapids deserve, we just weren't able to get there. And I saw that as the biggest challenge for a whole host of reasons, and now we've turned the corner on that. We're up to, if everyone that was in training was on the street right now, we'd have over 300 officers. So with the amphitheater coming, soccer stadium, other building going on downtown, getting those officers in uniform on the street is going to be vital to our success, and we're going to get there.
I know a big thing when after the Schur case, you had 2 officers per car. Where are we at with that kind of situation?
Yeah, ideally. So, there's police departments across the country that have less than 10 officers on their whole department and only put 1 officer on the road at a time. So we are fortunate, being the second biggest municipality in Michigan, that for safety reasons, especially at night, we're able most of the times to have 2 officers in a car together. Logistically speaking, if you're sending an officer to do an assignment that's safer, say taking an accident report or just a report of a theft or something, you want to be able to utilize a one-person car for that. So sometimes we have one-person officers, but always keeping an eye to efficiency. We also have our online reporting, and we more and more being able to make reports over the phone. And so anywhere we can make things more efficient and keep those 2 officers in a car together for safety reasons, we're going to keep doing that.
On a gauge of that, like how often would you say that they are 2?
At night, a majority of the time, we have two officers in a car together. During the day, it's hit or miss. A lot of times we have traffic enforcement cars that ride single, but we were at a low point when I started that we would have as few as 14 officers on the road for the entire city. Fortunately, most night shifts we have upwards of 30, which is a more appropriate number. So you just see looking back to April 4th of 2022 when Patrick Lyoya was shot and killed. That was a day I believe we had 16 total officers on the road. So I think if you ask internally what the biggest problem was back then, it was simply we didn't have enough police officers to police the city safely. So turning the corner on that, it has been huge. We're still headed in the right direction, and I think we're going to get there.
One of the things that have come under fire from the public, mostly when the trial was occurring and also these high-profile cases, has been how police officers have responded with that use of force. But something that you've really stressed and something that you stressed in that PowerPoint that we watched was there have been changes to use of force.
Yeah, we've changed completely. Not only the policies around use of force, but the training, which is huge. When I came up as a young police officer, I was taught how to box. and boxing is not the most efficient method for taking individuals into custody. Uses of force never look beautiful. It is not ballet when officers are out there fighting with somebody. So it never looks good, but we want to make sure, even though the use of force is not going to look pretty, it's as effective as possible, which is why we transitioned to a grappling jiu-jitsu based use of force. And that's a training thing, and that's something that now we have this whole new generation of officers, because it's over 2 years now that we've switched to that. There's a group of officers that more and more through attrition, this police department is going to be majority of officers who that's all they've known in their career, and that's fantastic. So making progress in use of force training. What else about use of force? What might you want to know? I think that's about it. Yeah. Anything specific,
What is the number right now on the street? You said up to 300.
Yeah, well, on the
October,
street,
but
sure, I'll answer your question. 291 right now on the street. In training, we have an additional 13.
Okay. At one point, you mentioned at the low, you had to pull the 4 officers that were kind of assigned to the unhoused community and 3 that were dedicated to Boys and Girls Club. Have they returned or not yet?
No, we haven't. So what we've seen is that the homeless outreach team initially started because of COVID and because getting the message out to our unhoused community, all the safety information that the rest of the country was getting through, television. These individuals who sometimes were living in encampments away from the rest of civilization just wasn't getting that information. And I think the concern was initially, we want to make sure that there's armed police officers for safety reasons of the homeless outreach team. I will speak from experience. Our homeless community here in the city of Grand Rapids is some of the most peaceful group of people ever. I would go, in t-shirts and shorts, no gun, no badge, and go through encampments, there's a large group that regularly hang out at Hartside Park, and I will go down and I will talk to them and have those interactions, and I don't fear for my safety at all. So I think what we realized is that our officers were well utilized responding to those 911 calls. The fire department has maintained that relationship with the homeless outreach team, but it's better staffed with clinicians, with recovery coaches.
Going off of that, answer about the unhoused population, there was recently an executive order signed by the president. Mm-hmm. Is that going to change how the department interacts with the unhoused community going forward?
Our legal department actually just sent that executive order around just as an FYI, and they said they're going to dig into it and look into it. I don't see it changes anything as far as is how we operate. I think there's some grant information in there involved, like the federal government was going to look to give grants to different municipalities looking at that. But I think we're doing a pretty good job here in the city of Grand Rapids supporting our unhoused community, and I don't see it having a big impact. But waiting to hear from the attorneys.
3 years, obviously you highlighted your progress. 3 years from now, any other progress you want to do?
3 years from now, so we have seen progress in 2 things. Number one, trust of the police. I have seen it increased. As much as you might see, talk online about how it's not there. In the conversations that I've had, I have seen it increase, and we are trending in the right direction. I want to see it where we get better trust, better community partnership, because we can't do it on our own. And then I want to see lower crimes. I've seen the violent crime rate drop here, especially among our young people. 3 years from now, I want to talk about how we're the safest city, anywhere in the world.